We like to start every single morning with something that I fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. If you're new on this journey, the jargon can really put a crimp in your day. You're wanting help and support from experts, and you're asking them questions about your child, and they come back with a bunch of words that they might as well be Greek, right? But we can make friends with the jargon. We can tackle this. And if we're smart about this, we'll do the same thing that we do with our kids. Take a huge task and break it down into little increments that are palatable, that we can do just a little bit at a time, right? So we give you one word, one phrase, or one anagram a day and try to demystify it. I like to make fun of the actual definitions. So we give you the phrase or the word, whatever it is, give you an actual definition, which is sometimes even more jargon intensive. And then we give you a more user-friendly definition. So let's take a look. Today's phrase is receptive language. And this is a great jargon phrase because it's going to come up over and over and over again with your child. And we've had this word before, but I think it's important to go over them from time to time, especially the ones that are more frequently used, partially so that when the new viewers come in that they're getting these words. But I think it's important for all of us to go over them from time to time. And since it is IEP season, if you're being asked to do an IEP with your child at school, you know you're going to hear about receptive language, right? Okay. So receptive language, our actual definition is the process of attending to communication, spoken or non-vocal, comprehending the communication, and being able to react appropriately within a specified time parameter, even when what is being conveyed contains multiple facets. Okay, as definitions go, it's not the worst one because it's not very jargon intensive. However, we can make this a little bit easier. So our working definition for receptive language is the child's ability to understand what's being said to them. What you're going to hear endlessly is your child's receptive language and their expressive language. I like to think of it express. When you express yourself, it goes that way, right? So your child's ability to express themselves is going to be their expressive language. But receptive language is stuff that goes this way. So if you're saying to a child, get your shoes, and the child has no receptive language abilities, then you might as well have said blah, 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 right? Because they have no idea what you said. And I was mentioning earlier that there was a period of time in which I thought my child might be deaf or going deaf because there was no response. We would say his name, he would not turn. But what we discovered very quickly after my son was diagnosed and being tested was that his receptive language was almost nil. I literally might as well have been speaking another language. He didn't understand it. And we'll talk throughout the day and throughout the week about how we can help to build receptive language skills. But one of the best pieces of advice that I have gotten doing this show that I try to remind myself on a daily basis, and this is with anything, but we have Evelyn Gould, who's a fabulous BCBA, Board Certified Behavior Analyst, who comes in every Wednesday at 10 o'clock to talk to us about parent-friendly things that we can do. And one of the things that Evelyn said a couple of months ago was make sure that when you are first starting out working on receptive or first starting working out on any kind of new skill, that you keep your words to a minimum. And the example that she was using was that if I were to go to, let's say, Russia, and I don't speak more than Das Vidanya in Russian, if I go to Russia and I'm staying at somebody's house, and let's say that I'm upstairs in the bedroom, and somebody from the house comes upstairs to the bedroom to me and starts saying a whole slew of Russian words to me, and I have absolutely no idea what they're saying whatsoever. I have no clue. I'm watching for gestures. I'm thinking it's got to be something to do in the bedroom because that's where we are. That would be the logical way that I would be thinking about things. I'm not going to pick up the Russian language if they're just saying sentence upon sentence. Whereas if the person were to come upstairs, take my hand, take me downstairs to the dining room, and point to a bowl of soup and gesture to the chair and hand me the spoon, and then they say a word, I'm going to begin to understand that that word is eat in Russian. But I can't pick it out of a sea of words, right? Well, it's the same thing with our children. If we can pare it down and be as specific as possible, and we do want to be gesturing in the beginning, but very few words that we want to use, be in the right place where the object is in front of us if we're trying to work on labeling, or if it's an action that we want them to do, that we're participating in the action, but keeping the words to a minimum. That's how we would want to pick up a language, and we're asking our children to pick up the language that we're speaking. In my case, it would be English. So keeping it really succinct in the right location, hopefully with something that I can gesture to point to, but only using a minimum of words. Hopefully we can get it down to one word. We're going to be talking a lot about manding today, which, yes, is expressive language, but we'll talk about getting it succinct to that one word. So really important that in the beginning, I'm a woman of many words. Let's say that. Who else could sit here and talk endlessly for 3 hours? So it's one of the hardest things for me. But what we find is that when we keep those words to a minimum, say one word at a time, we're going to be more effective and our kids are going to learn quicker. So it is something that we can control and work on. Okay, so receptive language, again, is what your child hears and understands. Really important, and a lot of times you're going to see your child's expressive language and receptive languages on different levels. They're not always the same. You could have a child who has virtually no receptive language skills and high expressive. Well, that's great that we have high expressive, but you're going to see that there are going to be problems that result if you have high expressive and low receptive. This is going to be that child that in the classroom does fairly okay, but when the teacher gives a direction, the child isn't doing it, and they will start to engage in challenging behavior because they're not understanding. And it can be the exact opposite too, that a child can have really high receptive with almost no expressive. Haven't we seen that in the news a lot? The child who everybody says has no language skills, and then suddenly they're 14 and somebody sticks a computer in front of them and the child types out and says, "Hey, you guys, I have been here the entire time, heard everything you said, and by the way, can somebody get me a peanut butter sandwich?" And everybody goes, "Oh my goodness," because the child had huge receptive, but very little ability to express themselves until they're given a medium. It's really important that we get our kids tested, that we know on a yearly basis where they are so that we can be working to strengthen the one that's strong and shore up and build the one where there's the bigger deficit.